Thank you. Good afternoon. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. My name's Lisa Bellamy. I'm the President of Carry On Progress Association, and I'm also a Wires wildlife carer. And I'm here today to speak on behalf of not only the Carry On community, but also the bushland and the trees and the native habitat. Carry On is a suburb of the Central Coast. It's about 50 kilometres north of, I'll call it Lizard Rock, as the crow flies. And we're here at Carry On, we're facing a similar threat, a proposal to clear ecologically significant bushland for housing under the same legislation that is being used here, the State Environment Planning Policy, Aboriginal Land 2019 Act. I had a full speech prepared, but many of the speakers before me have spoken so well and so eloquently and highlighted why the bushland at Lizard Rock must remain untouched, including things that I was already going to speak about, like the lack of the compliance with the Biodiversity Conservation Act, the loss of native habitat, transport issues, the bushfire risk, the climate change issues, the lack of integrity in the cultural report. And it's also true that the local Aboriginal land councils unfortunately have been returned land that is difficult to develop. So, that is an issue. But I am going to focus on I'll try and be quick, four key issues that apart from that. Those four are the dangerous precedent that this decision will set, the harm that it's causing our communities, the increasing role of corporate influence in these decisions, and the troubling reclassification of protected land. So point one is the dangerous precedent that is going to be set if this development is allowed to go ahead. Allowing this proposal to proceed doesn't just threaten Lizard Rock, it sets a precedent that puts bushland across the Central Coast and all of New South Wales at risk. The local Aboriginal Land Council in our area has at least 30 plots of land that they have on their development plan, and they've got another 1,000 plus land claims in. So, I agree with a lot of the previous speakers that have said that it's really unfortunate that this is the way that we have decided is the best to make up for past wrongs, because it's not helping. It's not helping to create unity in our communities. Just for the sake of going quicker, I'll just go on to the next point, and that is that the social damage and the division that's been created by this sort of proposal under these circumstances. They're not just harming the environment or maybe harming the environment. They're actually tearing our communities apart. And it's not just the Aboriginal, it's tearing like communities of all backgrounds, including the Aboriginal communities apart, which is really sad to see. It's causing so much division and distress. And the damage to the community cohesion is real and it's significant, and it might not show up in a planning report or in a developer's profit margins, but it is deeply felt by those of us living in these areas and parts of these communities. And I implore the decision makers to consider this harm when weighing up the true cost of these developments. Point three is the corporate influence that's becoming more and more apparent in these type of development proposals. When the Land Rights Act and the local Aboriginal land councils were introduced in the early 1980s, they symbolised hope, a chance to return land and empower communities. But today the vision of stewardship and care for country is being overshadowed by corporate interests. Big corporations, facilitated by organisations like the Business Council of Australia, are now entangled with the land councils prioritising profits over preservation. These corporations are using the language of progress, for example, activating the land. The land is already activated. That bushland is very freaking active. And backing projects, my magpie's just landed on my shoulder, backing projects that erode the very principles of cultural and environmental care. We should be asking ourselves, how did we get here? Why has land that has been returned as part of a commitment to justice become the subject...
Lisa, 30 seconds to you and the magpie.
Become the subject to the same exploitative practices of those of the colonisers, with little regard for Mother Earth. And I'm also asking, who decides that this land is now suitable for development? Historically and currently, it's protected under law, And if it wasn't suitable for development before, then what's changed? And in conclusion, I'm just saying that I urge the decision makers to reject this proposal, not just for the sake of Lizard Rock or Carry On, but for the principles of fairness, sustainability and unity. Together, let's find a solution that benefits everyone without sacrificing irreplaceable treasures that make our communities and our landscape so special and that actually give us life.